Hi there. I hope that you're surviving this crisis pretty well. I know surviving is a very strong word, and we are not in the phase of the crisis where we have to literally be fearful of our survival. But that being said, people are emotional, and when you see people acting out from their emotions, which happens all the time, take it politically, take it religiously, take it like any tribal kind of place. But when people behave from their uh, emotional state, they tend to act irrationally, and that's what I've been observing. Not personally per se, but online I've seen a lot of people posting about uh, lack of stocks of essential items such as toilet papers and hand sanitizers, to name a few, which to be honest are essential, definitely. But I have liquid soap or hand soap, and I know what to do if I run out of toilet paper. I grew up in India, so I have my backup options all laid out. So I'm not worried about those essential things. I'm definitely worried about essential things such as food and water. Like right now, I'm super grateful that the water I get in my apartment is pretty clean, and I don't have to go and stock, say, bottled water. So if that were the situation, then I would have to be more cautious and take some action. But the bigger point I'm getting at is that the one lesson we all should take away from this crisis is to live a life of minimalism. And I know it's it's kind of conflicting to a lot of our ambition. Personally speaking, too, I do want to live in very lavish house. I do want to drive amazing sporty car. I do want to wear very neat and good clothes, and I do want to live a lifestyle where I don't have to uh, be worried about money, for sure. And I bet like all the ambitious person or people out there kind of resonate in one or the other way. But I think personally speaking, I feel that the most fulfilling part is to be grateful for all the things I currently have, as well as grateful for the relationships I'm hopefully building on my way, um, since life is a journey altogether. But one of the things which I've been incorporating within my life, I would say since my childhood, thanks to my parents, uh, but also more recently as well, is minimalism. I think minimalism is the only way we can not only fight this crisis, which is because of virus, but also the climate crisis. Because if we don't contain ourselves on the materialistic uh, things, then we will end up buying things which we don't want just to impress others, doing things which we don't need, or buying things which we don't need, I would say, uh, just to compete with other people and play this societal game of uh, showing off that I'm better than anybody else because I have a better house, because I have a better car, because I have a better whatever. And that attitude never fulfilled anyone. I mean, it's a temporary satisfaction for sure to have that sense of achievement of buying something, which, let's just say, you dreamed of all the time. But personally speaking, I have shifted my mindset to incorporate minimalism into my life. And it's very liberating to begin with because even though I own is kind of like a very um, I would say very privileged word, but even though I am surrounded with a lot of things which I can say I own because I paid for it, but that doesn't mean that I'm buying things to impress anyone else. I'm buying things to accommodate my necessity. And on top of that, I'm buying things which are not, I would say, which, let me rephrase, I'm buying things which are of better quality, which give me a long-term duration instead of like just buying things which are cheap which might not last long. So there is a happy medium in between, and for each their own. I still struggle with a lot of different things in my life where I act out either cheap or I overspend, and I bet like that's same for every one of us. But in this crisis, especially when things gonna be get worse before it get better, because we don't have vaccines for coronavirus and we don't have enough means to quarantine people and help out people to fight this coronavirus crisis, uh, things will ramp up very soon. And I believe people who have this minimalism mindset will have advantage over people who are either careless or who tend to be overspending. Because one thing, minimalism saves you money, but that's a byproduct. That's not the reason why I choose to be minimalism. The one of the reasons why I like being minimalistic is because I'm minimizing my footprint, overall footprint, so to speak, and I just get things which I need and use things till it runs out of its life and then donate it. So have that perfect life cycle of buying thing, using it, and passing on to people who are less privileged than I am. Whereas people, in my experience, people um, who doesn't practice minimalism, they tend to hoard all the things they can find, and they tend to kind of be latched onto those things or be hoarding itself is latching onto it, and that not only prevent them from uh, using the whatever they bought to the maximum level, but also prevent them from parting away from with it, like donating it to somebody else. In my personal life, I am very specific about the food I eat, even though I go on tangents plenty of times, like I am right now, where I start eating things which, for lack of better word, say is unhealthy. I'm minimalistic about the clothes I wear. I have very specific type of clothes and I just rotate them. I don't like to go for shopping very often. Even though arguably I should reamp my style once in a while, uh, and so on. Like I'm one thing I'm very passionate about is technological devices, appliances, and things which brings value into my life. I'm passionate about that. But even within it, I use phone which is like 3 4 years or 3 4 generations old, and I'm still satisfied with it. I might end up buying one if there is a better camera and the features I like. But the point I'm making overall is that wherever you can cut down the overspending of any materialistic part, that will benefit you personally because you'll be surrounded with lesser things, and then you can use your focus on things which you want to do, instead of like, getting the all of these materialistic items around you, and then you have to, in some sense, take care of more items. That's I guess that's one of the other reasons why I choose to be minimalistic, because I don't like to take care of each and every item. So if I have fewer items to begin with, then it's a win-win situation for me. Uh, and I feel that the attitude, the mindset of minimalism will be super helpful to fight climate crisis at large as well, because minimalism kind of sort of plays part in different avenues of life. So, for an example, I love my car, and my car it's not the most expensive car, but it has good value, good mileage, and uh, in some sense that's a minimalistic attitude, because not only I needed a good reliable car, it's also stylish and in my taste, and on top of that it gives me good miles. So it's a win-win-win situations for me personally. And that's because I practice minimalism. And if I were to have like a better option than the car which I currently have, then I would absolutely adapt that, use that, because that's benefiting my overall philosophy in some sense. Uh, and also, there are a few things where you shouldn't be minimalistic, like while taking care of your health. Um, uh, when it comes to food, when it comes to water, when it comes to nutritions and other uh, essential vitamins for your body, being minimalistic or being cheap in some sense won't help. And it's better to kind of spend money on those items which will nourish the body and also the mind. And also, I love to spend, or I would say invest rather spend. I love to invest on experiences. So I love to invest in traveling. I love investing in, you know, my martial art practice, my some of the other things which I do, and I love that because that brings different experiences within my life. Instead of like buying a new jeans every month, I would rather spend twice amount of that and experience and train myself in a new art form, in a new uh, physical workout to it could be different shape and form. And I guess a lot of it is who I am. And I know it's very difficult for people to change who they are, but if anything can change anyone's mind, it's crisis. I've seen people who has changed their entire lifestyle because they went through some trauma or some crisis. And I hope that this ongoing crisis also gives a broader perspective to people who are just holding on toilet papers and hand sanitizer. Instead of that, use uh, uh, be hygienic so that you don't need hand sanitizer very often. Install a bidet instead of using toilet paper and holding toilet paper. In some cases, holding months and years worth of toilet paper, which won't take you anywhere to begin with. And on top of that, you're using or spending that money uh, on an item which you can in some sense replace with the better options. Uh, to give you an example, I have this shawl which I typically wear I normally wear it sometime during meditation, but if you don't have means to get mask, you can use handkerchief or some sort of shawl to kind of wrap yourself and cover your mouth, if that's the most essential part. And obviously make sure that you wash it every single day so that you're not uh, you know making it a source of germs or something. So there are different ways to tackle the crisis. And the couple of things which I can think of right now is definitely, instead of using hand sanitizer for everything, to use a hand wash and wash your hands more frequently. Or also, just use the wipes, the alcoholic wipes, and wipe the surface of your tables, even though I'm guilty. I haven't done it myself, so I should be first starting by doing it first before preaching it to someone else. But the point being, there are alternate methods where you can be minimalistic and not overspend because of this crisis. And one of the other lessons which I believe we can learn from the crisis is to not be panicked, because panicking is the worst thing in any crisis. If you start panicking, your brain automatically latches on to the most comforting, most simplistic uh, solution. So that's why plenty of people tend to be overeating, because when they're going through this anxious moments within their life and they cannot handle it effectively, they just find comfort in eating and in a ironical way fall into that cycle where they're harming themselves further. So panicking is, you can think about it not just as an enemy. It's sort of like a friend as well, because whenever you are naturally panicked, it means that you have to be more aware. You have to pay attention to what's happening right now, why your body is triggering that you have to be panicked. There are definitely a lot of natural reasons, or valid reasons rather, where we all should be panicking. Like climate crisis is one of them, or coronavirus crisis is another, where we naturally should be panicking, because these are some of the external factors which gonna affect us. But the most immediate panicking factor would be, like, if someone put a gun on your head or try to rob you or break into your house. That's the extreme level of panic. And picture this: if you, I hope not, but if you ever get in a situation where someone pointed a gun at you, and if you start panicking, then not only you're as at disadvantage, because you might do something which might end up you getting hurted, like, because in a panic mode, people tend to be either uh, uh, fight or fright or freeze, to name a few. And if you just try to fight someone when you can calmly handle the situation, then you will get into trouble. Or if you flee from that situation, then you might get into trouble. Or if you freeze and don't do anything, then you still can get into trouble. But if you calm yourself down, and that will help you to analyze the situation better, and you may be able to find an alternate path out of that whole crisis altogether. And one way to practice calming yourself down is to do daily meditation. And again, I'm guilty of this. I don't practice meditation every single day as I hoped or as I should be. But even in my day-to-day life, I do practice mindfulness. So whenever I'm driving on the road, I'm mindful of the cars around me, and not just subconsciously driving. I'm mindful of even the clouds up there, out there. Plenty of times I'm cloud watching while driving as well. So just being mindful of the things happening around me. So mindfulness is more like a awake practice. When I say awake, I mean, you can practice mindfulness while doing your chores, while working on something, while literally taking a shit too. So you can practice mindfulness at any given place. Whereas meditation definitely requires you to sit down and close your eyes, and then be calm and focus on the breath and body sensations if you practice vipassana. So these are different flavors, and I even if I skip on meditation, I'd still practice mindfulness every single day. And these practices build a habit of calming yourself down, and that calmness help in a lot of different life situations. It help when you're going through any personal crisis, um, like maybe maybe if you lost your job, or if you had a conversation which went sideways. It's very personal. uh, could be multiple things, or you lost a contract while dealing with your customer, or it could be a lot of things, right? Or if you when you're handling a health crisis or family crisis for that matter. And this calmness, this practice of calmness will help you to uh, go through that experience and handle, or at least at the very least, understand, analyze your all the things around you, so you would be able to make a better informed choice. And uh, and with that note, I guess I will be meditating for the next hour using Vipassana technique, which is to focus on my breath and body sensations. All right. I will see you in an hour. Hey, thanks for streaming and watching me for meditate, watching me to meditate for an entire hour. Until next time, stay